Hello friends, this is Tisha from Meadows and Mortar by Tisha. I am going to be showing you how to take this 1970s armoire and bringing it up into current times. Now as you can see, this was just a standard 1970s armoire and it had that dark wood on it. You can see those flowers on the little inset part, but it was just very dated. So I had a customer who wanted me to do this piece specifically for her, and she gave me an idea of what she wanted, a few inspiration photos, and so I just used those inspiration photos and then took my own twist on it. So the first thing that I did is I put 2 coats of primer on it, and I used Paint Couture's 2-in-1 primer in the color gray, and I just got a nice even coat all across it. And then I took some casting resin, just a 2-part casting resin, and I made those resin molds and I just stuck them right there on the inside. Now I use Titebond Quick and Thick to adhere my molds, but you can use whichever adhesive that you prefer. Now I'm using Paint Couture in the colors Farmhouse Linen and Duck Egg, and I am just blending those 2 colors together. And I'll show you in just a little while how I blended those. I know that this is going in hyper speed right now, but I'll show you a little more in depth on my second coat. After that, I decided that the inside of it, I wanted it to have a little bit of a different variation of color. So I used Paint Couture in the color Vintage Flair, and I just did that whole inside part right there. Now the little back section, I'm going to be adding some wallpaper to it, so I didn't worry about painting over that part. I just did the doors and the shelves and the sides. In between my coats of paint, I like to take a little sandpaper, one that's pretty worn, like a 220 grit, something that's not really going to scuff it up, and then I just take and just lightly wipe over top of my finish. Now this isn't going to take the finish off, it's just going to get any like little dust nubs or anything that's in there, and it's just going to give you a nice smooth finish, and you really can feel a difference whenever you take the time to do this. So I highly suggest that in between your coats of paint that you come through and just kind of wipe it off really easy, not really a sanding, you're just kind of just lightly dusting over it with that sandpaper. Now this is my second coat, and I told you I was going to show you how to blend. So around the edges of this drawer, you can see I'm using the color Duck Egg. Now this is going to be my light blue color, but this is going to be the darker of my colors. I typically like to have my darker colors on the outside and then my lighter colors on the inside. This seems to work for the kind of paint finishes that I like to do, but you can do it however you'd like. Now for the inside, I'm putting that Farmhouse Linen inside of there. Now you can see that I am just taking the blue and I'm pulling that in just a little bit, so it's right on the edges, but then I'm pulling it in just a smidge. Now some people don't like to use water with their Paint Couture paint, but I do. So if I'm using either one of their styles of paint, I use it, even if it's just in little amounts. But for this particular project, I was only using the chalk style paint, so that's completely fine to use a mister bottle with. Now all that's going to do is it's just going to help this paint to move a little more freely. It's not going to be as sticky, and it's going to blend together nicely. Now you'll see that I'm using a big fat brush on this. This is a flat bottom brush, but the bristles on it are very thick. Now I'm taking this and I'm just doing a swirling motion. You'll see me go side to side. I'll probably do some diagonals, and then I'll come back with a dry neutral brush, and that's what that is right there, and I'm just feathering it all together. You want to make sure that you don't have paint on this particular spot, because this is what's going to actually go and smooth everything out for us. Now I'm taking Paint Couture's Extreme Guard and I'm putting it all over these molds in this inset area. I'm not putting it over my whole project, I'm just doing it over this part, because I'm going to be using that same color that I used on the inside, that Vintage Flair, and this is going to be a darker blue than the Duck Egg that I had used, and I'm actually going to be using this sort of as a glaze. So once that Extreme Guard had dried, then I come in with a little bit of water from my mister bottle and I sprayed it all over those molds. And then I took the paint, and you can see that I tried to concentrate it on where the molds are, and I just dabbed it in there. Then I take a little more water, spray on top of it, and then I just dab the excess off. So what I'm trying to do is I'm just essentially making my own colored glaze. I'm just wanting this to sit inside of the crevices. So it's really going to make all of the little defined areas inside of the molds pop. So it's going to draw your eye into that area just a little bit more than it would if I was just using the same duck egg blue that I had used on the outer edges of the piece of furniture. And if you didn't like this step, if you don't like the blue, you could go in with a glaze. You could get a brown or a black or even a silver metallic if you'd like. But I just thought that the different plays of the blue would look really nice. Now after I finished that, I use a little bit of brown wax. So I'm using Annie Sloan's wax for this, but you can use any sort of antiquing wax that you like. And I'm just going around the outside edges of that inset. And then I'm also going to go over some of the molds and around some of the molds to make my own little shadow or vignette around those. And then after I get through with this, you're going to see me go around the edges of the piece itself. So around the edges of the drawers, around the edges of the top. And I'm just really wanting it to look worn and dirty. And you'll see me drag it from side to side. I'm going to go up and down. I'm just wanting this to have a more weathered, aged appearance. So the lady that I actually did this for, she wanted it to be farmhousey at first, and then she decided that she wanted it to be like a French country theme. So I decided to do the best of both worlds. So I decided to give her that French country blue with the beautiful molds, but then I also wanted to make it grungy. Her words is that she liked stuff to look dirty, so that's what I tried to do. So right here I'm taking that same dark brown wax, but I'm using a makeup brush this time. And this is just going to give me some bigger brush strokes on it to make it look more like it has actual finger wear on it. So I'm not just getting down inside of the detailed areas now. I'm using a wider brush so I have a wider area that I'm covering. And you can do as much or as little of this as you like, but I was just trying to go by what my customer had said that she liked. So whenever I decided I was going to do this inside part, I did not pay attention to how this camera was positioned. And I know you cannot see anything that's going on, but just pretend like you can. All I'm doing is I'm just taking a peel and stick wallpaper that I got from Amazon, and I'm just laying it on there. So after I got done with that, I took Paint Couture's Extreme Guard and I went over the whole entire piece. And I actually did this twice. I made sure that I had about 8 hours dry time in between each coat, and I did this twice. So I'm going to get a nice durable finish on here. This is going to be used in a bedroom, and I wanted to make sure that it was going to be able to withstand the wear and tear that comes with being a functional piece. Now when I made those molds at the beginning of the video, I actually made these little keyhole molds as well. I just didn't get it on the video. So I'm taking these and I'm lining them up over top of where the hardware used to be. Now the hardware that was on it had 2 holes, but these keyholes are large enough to where it covers up those holes. So I just take my Titebond Quick and Thick and I put those on there and let them get good and set up. Now I'm taking some Paint Couture Crackle Step 1. I put it on there pretty thick, I feel like. Then I'll wait 30 minutes for it to get good and tacky, and then I put Step 2 on top of it. Now, once that you put that Step 2 on there and it dries completely, then you're going to get some nice, good aged cracks. Now I'm going to take my Paint Couture in the color Antique Gold, and I'm just wiping it right over all of those areas that I put that crackle medium on. So essentially what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to take that gold color and I'm wanting it to set inside of those cracks. So my client did say that she wanted the gold on this. I didn't want to do a bright gold because I didn't feel like that really went with her theme and her home. So I chose to do the antique gold, and I think that it turned out perfect. So once that I put it on there, I work it in all of those cracks really well. Then I take a rag or a paper towel and then I just wipe it off. Now, ideally, baby wipes is what I would use right here. But I didn't have any out here. I was too lazy to walk in my house. I was out in the garage. So I just used a paper towel and then I had a mister bottle and then I wet my paper towel and then wiped it off. And there you can see how beautiful those crackles are inside of there once that you get it. Now I'm taking that same exact gold color and I'm putting it over top of my hardware. So I just lightly go over the top of those molds that I had made, and you can see it just really makes that pop. Then I go over top of not all of the molds on the inset part, but just part of them. I wanted it to look like whenever the sun hits it a certain way that it just kind of makes it shine. I'm just making sure that I get it on the high points. I'm not getting it down in the low points. I'm really wanting a nice variation of the color on here. So I need to drill holes inside of those keyhole molds now to go actually through the furniture so I can put my furniture jewelry on there, and then this is going to be the end of it. So I end up using some gold knobs that I had in my stash for the majority of it, and then I used one pull from Undead Hardware to go on the door. I just thought that it would be pretty to have a variation of color there, and this is the final product. And guys, I am so happy with this. I hope that you guys love it. I think this is a beautiful piece, and I'm so honored that my client let me do it for her. And if you guys have any questions, just drop your comments below. I'd be more than happy to try to help you with them. If you're not already, please subscribe to my page. And if you would like any of the products that I showed here today, then I will be listing that in the description below, and you can use my affiliate link to get those products. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see you all next time.